everybody to the panel on blockchain. May I introduce Kim Jackson. Kim is one of the co-founders of SingularDTV. She's also the president of entertainment at SingularDTV. Prior to that, she's been a producer and president of Evotion Media. And she's been involved in numerous productions, most notably the film Munich, which is directed by Steven Spielberg. Then Zach Lebeau. Zach is the CEO and co-founder of SingularDTV. He previously wrote and directed the film Scientist, starring Bill Sage, and he's also built up a women's luxury clothing line from almost nothing to 110 stores across the US. Then we have Ari Levy-Cohn. Ari is also a co-founder of SingularDTV. He's also a co-founder of Blockhouse. He has over 20 years of experience in investment banking, wealth management, and financial advisory. And then we have Matthias Ruch. Matthias, he has been also involved in film prior, but now is here as a partner and a co-founder of Lakeside Partners. Lakeside Partners is focused on early stage investments in the blockchain space, startups that are particularly focused on blockchain applications. Based in Zug, they're also known for building up the crypto labs space. And then Andreas Glarner, it wouldn't be possible without him. He's in charge of the legal side in the blockchain space. He's at MM&E and advises very many of the blockchain startups on legal aspects and how to really bring this innovation forward. Good. So with that, I'm Sunny Grineveld. I'll be moderating this panel. And I'd like to open up this panel with a video, I've been told.
I remember in 1997, David Bowie, he sold himself. He launched himself on Wall Street. Essentially what he did was he took his music that he made, that he owned, and he tokenized it. All of his music's future royalties he put in the form of bonds that he called Bowie bonds. You can call them tokens as well. So the public could buy a piece of his music. It was a direct investment into him as an artist. And no one had ever done that before. It was groundbreaking. And he raised $55 million doing it. I remember it having a huge impact on me in the fact that you could take your ideas, a project, your talent, whatever you had to offer to the world, and go out and find a community, find an audience, find those out there that believe in you, that support you, that want what you have to give. I wanted to do that. I wanted to do what David Bowie did. I wanted to tokenize my writings, my books, my scripts. And I was this kid from a small town in the Midwest, and I was a rebellious artist. I didn't know anything about Wall Street, didn't want to know anything about Wall Street. And I certainly wasn't David Bowie. But this concept, it stuck with me all these years. And now, 19 years later, we have the tools. We're building the technology for anyone with an idea or a project to create their own tokenized ecosystem. Giving them the opportunity to find the audience, giving the world the opportunity to buy their tokens, to fund their project, to help manifest their dreams. What SingularDTV is building is a completely new type of industry. It's an alternative, an alternative that is transparent, that is uncensorable, that is peer-to-peer, where revenue collection is instantaneous, where middlemen don't exist. No sales agents, no distributors, no lawyers, no intermediaries that end up diminishing an artist's profit potential through creative accounting or through waste and inefficiency. We're building a completely decentralized entertainment industry. We're building the tools that empower artists, that give them control over their property, over their revenue. And there's a movement of artists out there, like Imogen Heap and Grammatic, who are already leaving this old system behind. In SingularDTV, we're building this new system. In order to make sure that the most important part of the process wasn't just theory, we had to prove it. You know, we had to tokenize our idea, and we had to launch it to the world. And that's what we did. Our motivation has been pure and progressive and positive, open, transparent, all of that right from the beginning. It is the reason why us four founders have come together like we have and have been able to do this. It's the reason why we have been able to get the quality of advisors and core investors. And it's the reason why we're able to have designed what we did and are about to launch it right now.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, launch! SingularDTV token launches in the air!
Right on!
Bravis! Good job, guys! Fantastic go!
So we've got 229,000 Ether. 274,000 Ether.
2 million, 3 million, Jesus.
4.35 million in 3 minutes. 4.48 million, 4 minutes.
5.5 million.
We are less than a million away from the cap. All right, we're approaching we're past 7, we're at 7.1.
Yes!
Now, let's go make some fucking movies.
Yes!
Good job.
Thanks for all your beautiful energy and your amazing work. Yay. Wonderful.
So I'm glad we got to share that moment again with you. May I just have a quick show of hands for this panel and also for us to understand, how many of you know what the blockchain is? Hands up. All right. How many of you have heard of Ethereum? All right. Well, that gives us an idea. So, Zach, nonetheless, there were some hands that didn't go up. Can I ask you, could you explain in the simplest terms possible, what is the blockchain about, and what is it exactly that SingularDTV does thanks to it?
Yeah, I really wish there was a simple way to explain what blockchain technology is, but a lot of people do ask for me to explain as if they were 5 years old so they could really get the simplest explanation. But unfortunately, right now, blockchain technology, it's not for 5-year-olds, not yet. But really, there's two revolutionary things about blockchain technology. And the first is the convergence of data and network. It's never existed before. It doesn't exist on the internet today. The internet is super siloed databases. It's almost, no, there's so many siloed databases and they don't necessarily connect with each other. So this data network convergence, this is revolution number one. And to explain that as simply as possible, for example, if you're on Amazon and you're a merchant there and you've been selling for 5 years, you have a history, you have reviews, you have a digital reputation, you have an identity. But because there is no data network convergence on the internet, if you decide to go to eBay, you're going to have to start your digital identity from scratch. So this is one example of what data and network convergence will do. And when you wrap it around the second revolutionary aspect of blockchain, which is Satoshi Nakamoto's consensus algorithm, this will pretty much ensure that our lives are going to change as fundamentally over the next, well, for the rest of our lives, just like the internet has impacted us. So what does this necessarily mean for entertainment and SingularDTV? what kind of tools and applications are we building to empower artists and creators and producers and investors. This data and network convergence, this consensus algorithm, basically allows us to create a rights management gateway that allows creators to control their intellectual property, their rights, their revenue, the royalty flow. We have 18 different applications and modules coming out, all the way from this rights management gateway to a non-regionless, territory-less, peer-to-peer decentralized transaction on demand portal. So there's a few, just to quickly sum up some of what we just saw, there were a few phrases going around like tokenized ecosystem and things like this, probably new phrases and words for many people here, but basically to describe a tokenized ecosystem in the legacy centralized world, our business structures are corporations, LLCs, GmbHs. In this new world of blockchain technology, on SingularDTV, the new business structure is called a tokenized ecosystem.
And could you say a few words about SingularDTV and what it exactly is that you do?
Well, basically over the next 6 to 8 weeks, we are going to be launching our first 5 applications and a number of artists, films, television projects, music projects, ebooks, podcasts, a number of different use cases to help seed and ignite a decentralized entertainment economy.
Ari, you are a co-founder of SingularDTV, but you're also behind Blockhouse. Could you explain to us what Blockhouse is doing, just so people understand a little bit who's on the panel and what are the businesses you're driving?
So in 2010, I received the Satoshi Nakamoto white paper, and at the time I was working at Morgan Stanley, and it was, well, the catalytical change in my life that brought me here. That's why I wear a Bitcoin pen. And so from there, several years forward, Ethereum came into the playing field. And shortly after that, I met Zach. And when he told me what he was doing, and I later joined, and we launched, as you saw, pardon the expression in the video, by the way, and we succeeded in getting here, I realized that what we had done was familiar to me from a banking point of view. The structure and the process, the systems of control that we were giving birth to. And so I told Zach that there was an opportunity to create a set of systems and processes to do what we did for all artists in the world. Because we have daughters, and we want our daughters to be able to be artists without being starving artists. And so Blockhouse was born out of SingularDTV's success so that it could sustain the ecosystem's demand for doing what we did for SingularDTV. So Blockhouse and SingularDTV are probably symbiotic relationship companies.
So there are just two incredible examples of companies that have a very strong base in Switzerland. Matthias, you've been driving some of this and seeing some of this ecosystem unfold, particularly in Zug but also in Zurich. Why do you think that is? What is it really about the ecosystem here in Switzerland that is just, I mean, you tell me if you see it differently, but in a way, Switzerland has become the #1 spot to start blockchain startups, to innovate in this space. And I think that's very remarkable, especially given the fact that it's just in the past 3-4 years where it's just really gone through the roof. So what do you think is driving that? And what is also your understanding of the Swiss ecosystem in particular?
There's a few factors. It's indeed quite remarkable. Grüezi miteinander überhaupt. Who of you knows the term Crypto Valley? Hands up, please. always the same guys, right? Those who know blockchain, Ethereum. So for those who don't, Crypto Valley is the area from Zurich to Zug, where a significant amount, a number of companies in the blockchain and crypto space have settled down. Now, why is that remarkable? Let me tell you a story, our story. We are, like Lakeside Partners, we're a startup investment company. We invest in startups. We're based in Zug. Zug is considered to be the heart of the Crypto Valley. And we also run a business center in Zug. So a couple of years ago, more and more companies with the term blockchain knocked on our doors and wanted office space. And that was interesting, so we looked into it, and what we found was an ecosystem, an existing ecosystem consisting of different players, stakeholders, open-minded authorities, a legal framework, lawyers that will cater to the needs of these companies, service providers, and some very significant companies out of the space based in Zug. So I don't know if you know that, the Ethereum Foundation, Ethereum is basically the second generation blockchain making all this, what is currently happening possible, was founded in Zug. Andreas can tell you more about that. And a lot of other companies followed that example and set up shop in Zug and Zurich in this area in Switzerland, basically. And so that was the wake-up call for us to look into the blockchain space, and we launched 2 initiatives. Number 1 was the blockchain competition. That's a startup competition for blockchain companies worldwide, and so we launched it last year, and it's currently running. We have over 100 applications currently, and from more than 27 countries. And in November, we're going to announce the winners, and they will have the chance to set up shop in Zug. They get 100,000 cash in order, to start the business and start running. The second initiative was the Crypto Valley Labs, and this is kind of if you think of the ecosystem, this is the place where we're going to have a co-working space where all the startups and the corporates can meet. Now, the amazing thing is, if you think of an ecosystem, you all know the Silicon Valley, right? And in my opinion, what's currently happening 2017 in Crypto Valley is the Silicon Valley in the 90s. So the dot-com boom in the 90s, this is happening in front of our doors right now in Switzerland. And I'm a Zurich resident. I think it's just quite amazing that this is happening here. And people like Kim, Zach, Ari, they come from far away and join this ecosystem and help us build this. This is just amazing.
So fantastic. I want to do a very Swiss thing in here. I want to have a vote. We were signaled 5 minutes, but I would like to vote for 10 or 15. Who in this room is willing to give us 15 minutes to have a good conversation on blockchain in the entertainment industry?
Everybody says.
All right. Thank you.
How about 10, because it was kind of half and half, right?
We'll,
Should we meet in the middle?
We'll try to be kind. They've
right.
given us this. We might not use all of it.
Because here's the other thing. SingularDTV is hosting the cocktail afterwards, so we'll be around to have some conversations with those who raised their hands, right? 20.
Look at that.
Do I hear 30?
Such a generous crowd.
Drinks?
Thank you. Thank you. No, that's great. So thank you also for that insight into the startup ecosystem. And Andreas, you've been with MME Legal Tax as a partner, and since 2013, you've been helping these blockchain startups make sure that they really fit within the regulatory framework. Sometimes the regulatory framework is perhaps not even quite there yet. So there's a lot of dialogue, I'm sure, that you've been involved with. And maybe based on all of that experience, what is it that's really particular? What about the Swiss legal framework makes it so attractive for blockchain startups to come here?
Well, I guess there are various reasons for that, why blockchain companies tend to choose Switzerland at the time being. I think we are all aware there are other jurisdictions which are also very interesting and which are also popular, but I think there's some advantages with regard to Switzerland beyond the general advantages on reputation and centrality being easily reached, etc. I think from a regulatory point of view, Switzerland has always been a country which is very careful about regulating new technology matters. And first, thank you, wait and see how others doing it. And so we tend to be quite slow, actually, in pretty much everything we do, which is not always a bad thing. I believe, especially when it comes to new technologies, it's actually a very good thing to wait and not hastily implement new regulations, which are certainly not going to be fitting. And if they may fit, they only fit for about 1-2 months, because after this time, the technology has moved forward in a different direction. So what Switzerland does and what the regulator does, they use the existing laws and regulations and apply that. Obviously here with regard to blockchain companies, and we're not only consulting startups, we're also consulting a lot of existing industry companies in those questions. There's a lot of uncertainty. All of you have read press releases, I assume, and I think moving in this field, it's not only about legal uncertainties. You're in implementing not only new technology into businesses, but you're inventing the business model as such completely new. It's not about making a company big, it's about making projects big, and so you really have to kind of change the mindset also as a consultant, also as a legal consultant, how to do that properly. I think we invested a lot of time in doing that in the past 4 years, and building bridges between different areas of law, between technology, regulations, tax, in order to meet those concerns.
Thank you for that. Kim, you're mainly in New York, I understand?
Well, with SingularDTV now we're pretty global. We have offices in Zug, New York, Shanghai, Bless, Puerto Rico. Our customer service center is hanging on. We have people in South America, the Netherlands. So it's a new world. The future is global. We're on the planet Earth, so we like to think of ourselves as you know, encompassing it all.
And still you are here today in Zurich. What is your mission here in this particular corner of the earth?
Well, the Zurich Film Festival and the Zurich Summit, because this is our home and we've begun here, is an obvious choice. I wanted to thank all of the beautiful people that we've encountered at the Zurich Summit and Film Festival, and Amy Baker's team, and all of our team who've come from all over the world to be here. So thank you very much. This has been a really beautiful experience so far. But in the wise, fun words of my partner, Ari, I'm here because I'm ready to make some effing movies. So we've got the funding, and we are here scouting companies and producers and filmmakers that we'd like to work with, especially here in Switzerland. I understand that Switzerland needs content. They don't have a lot of content coming out of Switzerland, so we have an ability to do that because we don't rely on distribution models the way traditional distribution works today. So we have a free, open way to operate with these modules and the applications and the technology that we're building on. So I'm ready to roll up my sleeves and make some movies. So that's what we're doing here in a big way in Zurich.
Excellent. So I think that was a call to action for a lot of people in here, perhaps. I want to close this panel, and I know we are close on time, but the title of the panel is The Blockchain Phenomenon and Its Impact on Entertainment. And I think you are really just starting to have a tremendous impact on entertainment. I am so curious to see what it's going to be like, what this panel would be discussing in 5 years' time or 10 years' time, what's all going to happen to us. So I'd like to ask Zach, because I've been told you're the visionary among the crowd. What is it in 10 years that you really see the film industry to be if all of this technology will unfold its full potential upon it?
In 10 years?
5 years, 10 years, you pick the frame.
When Netflix is probably hurtling out of business, coming to us to white label a decentralized distribution portal for them, possibly.
For example, if
in
that's...
10 years. You know, the most, our our objective, our mission is to create a sustainable entertainment economy. So we're doing this through creating a mesh, a web of different tokenized ecosystems that represent intellectual property. And if we can get our economic models to work with our applications, to work with our demo artists and all the waves of artists that are going to be launched on our platform, then we've got a blueprint for a universal basic income structure, which really I think is our long-term vision. And it's best that we start with the creatives and the entertainment industry, because that's what we're passionate about, and that's what has opened my eyes, and yeah. So.
All right, so with that, I think we have a vision that we're working towards. I think you are pushing that vision forward. I'd like to open it up for one or two questions. I know there's going to be an apéro afterwards, so we're not going to be able to perhaps encompass all of them, but one or two questions. Yes?
So I think there are a lot of film and TV content creators in this room. So just very practically, from our point of view, to understand exactly what it is that you will be doing or intending to do, will you be facilitating, I guess, the equivalent of an ICO for an individual film or for a company, or are you allowing us to pre-sell tickets or VOD views for a film, or both of the above, or other things?
Well, I did mention earlier that we do have 18 different applications and modules and platforms that we're launching. A crowdfunding application is one of those. That's a small part of the ecosystem, but it's a very important part. You know, it's really about, for us, we're not looking to compete with Hollywood or any industry. We're just building an alternative. And for us, it's really all about the efficient management and control of intellectual property, its rights, and the revenue and royalty flow for that. It's actually really the perfect time to engage with us, because we're customizing so many things in our applications around your needs or your project's needs, if you're interested in doing a blockchain experiment with us.
We're doing 2 of those with companies that you will recognize when the announcement comes out. And so we're excited to be doing that. They're pioneers with us. They're names that we're excited to be working with, but they realize if they don't adapt, they're going to die. So they want to continue to be storytellers. And so we would love to engage anyone who is interested in learning more about the ecosystems that we can co-create together.
Question here.
Yeah, you said blockchain is for all artists. So where do you see the role of most of the people who are here in the room in the blockchain? So for example, talent managers, producers, how can they profit from blockchain?
Much in the same way you do now, only it will be more of an instantaneous payment kind of method. So rights revenue and royalty payment will be way more efficient than we're experiencing now. So, it takes months and months, and there's all this creative accounting, and then you have to track things down, and you have to go through the guilds, and it takes a lot of paperwork. The backroom paperwork is so inefficient, and we're talking with large companies about the fact that it costs them $5 to send 1 cent a lot of times to several people. So there are modules that you would be able to fit into your business that you're doing now and be able to save a great deal of money. We have some work to do. We are starting to have the conversation about how to engage the guilds, how to make the royalty payments way more efficient, more transparent, and more immediate. Blockchain technology, the first ever example was Bitcoin, which you've all heard of, and that is an instantaneous value exchange. So utilizing that value exchange the same way we utilize communication exchange will allow us to not have to wait and deal with a lot of bureaucracy. So there will definitely be ways to capitalize in a more efficient way with blockchain.
Can I add something to that too, actually? Because one of the really interesting economic models that we put together recently to go with our applications was for a franchise, a sci-fi franchise that, had I think it's got 8 or 9 different producers attached to it from 3 different companies. And we found a way to put together a model where it benefits everyone. And in fact, the number one model that we wanted to put together around this franchise was to have the tokenized ecosystem increase in market cap value. So you have to, the only thing you need to do to create season 2, season 3, season 4 is to liquidate those tokens and to use those funds to keep the franchise going. Another interesting thing about getting the audience involved with holding tokens and supporting projects is, you know, right now, if you tell someone to go watch a movie or watch a television show, you're not really necessarily receiving anything from that except spreading the word. But if you hold tokens to that film or to that television show, when those people go and they pay for that content, then you're going to be benefiting from that, from your pro rata share of the revenue coming into that token that you're holding as well.
And may I add, in the last panel, he said that they have distributors have no direct relationship to a lot of the audience. And so with the peer-to-peer distribution model that we're talking about, the creators have a direct relationship with the token holders and with the audience in a whole new way. And that is power, to have a direct relationship with your audience, and your audience is now your patron, and there is a support and a network going on there. That's a whole new paradigm that is extremely interesting to see how that's going to work. And like Zach said, you know, we might love a show and we recommend it, but that's where the relationship ends. But this is an ecosystem. This is supporting one another's creative endeavors.
Question here.
Yes. How is your business based? Are you asking for commissions or out of the royalties, or how does it work? I did not understand it.
Each application has a slightly different way to monetize. It has a different structure to it. For example, our rights management gateway, that's based on a flat rate fee structure. Our distribution portal is based on a percentage per transaction. We also have been very fortunate to have raised 580,000 Ether back when Ether was at $13. We have kept our stores in Ether, and Ether is at about 300 right now. So it gives us a lot more to work with than just the money we initially raised.
The transaction fees that he's talking about will be astronomically lower than any type of fee we're seeing with any traditional VOD platform or any other distributor that you see.
Question right at the back here.
Richard, I have a question about the blockchain. You know, the blockchain is very active worldwide, specifically also in China. Now I'm helping one of the best, actually the best movie from China. It's a Wolf Warrior to launch in Switzerland. But a lot of people don't know it. It's the 30 million plus budget, but they sold for $870 million US. So it's the only foreign movie in the box office in top 100, and also the only one not made in Hollywood. But is that possible? That I mean, for the Chinese movie launch in foreign countries through the blockchain system, also because the technology is ready for this kind of? Thank you.
Yeah, we've got about 14 people working out of our offices in Hong Kong and Shanghai, and we are launching artists from China in November. So that's going to be the beginning of this experiment in China. And they'll be putting their content on our distribution portal, which is accessible worldwide.
It's important to note that every jurisdiction is going to have its nuances, and this is why we need to have people in each of these respective jurisdictions in order to address these local nuances.
Another one back here.
So you raised a lot of your, I think, seed money or budget in a cryptocurrency. And how hard will your future business models and applications be tied to cryptocurrencies versus real currency? And because you know that it's hard sometimes to exchange cryptocurrency to real money and buy food, for example. So how will you cope with this problem? And do you rely on the future to be cryptocurrencies to be more widely spread and exchangeable?
I think you should answer that question.
Go ahead.
Well, I would like to say that the time for the answer to that question would have to wait for some maturity. There is a transition taking place globally with regards to how the regulatory framework globally is going to adhere new policy to interpret and understand and regulate and tax all this new kind of activity. I think it would be worthwhile taking it slowly. Our blockchain protocol is still a beta. It's revolutionizing some of our realities, but it's still long ways away from being a fully integrated, centralized, decentralized system. But we will head in that direction because the amount of transactions that take place in the world today, if we invite the rest of the world who has an opportunity to participate in these economies, won't be able to be serviced in the current paradigm as it is today, not financially and not technologically. So waiting for the decentralization paradigm to reach ubiquity and then learning from our mistakes and building better systems of control and reporting will allow for a better relationship between the two systems. For now, that's premature.
And also for the projects and artists that we're launching, who are launching their own tokenized ecosystems, to make it easier on them because everything is still so young and new. We're buying their tokens with US dollars, or we're basically supplying them with fiat currency.
One last question right at the back.
Hi, I'm a filmmaker and I have maybe some ideas for you guys. And I know Bitcoin, I also know Ethereum, but I'm sorry, I really still have a hard time understanding what you guys are offering. So just very hands-on. I assume you would buy my content, but if people wanted to see my content, they would have to have Ethereum, right? And they would have to buy it from your platform to see it. So, and as of now, I see this as like, you guys would buy my content, but most people wouldn't be able to see it out there because they don't own Ethereum yet. So we have to, where's the critical mass for you guys to actually get your money back, right? Have I understood your ecosystem? I mean, we're all talking about the ecosystem, but I don't see it. I don't understand it quite. I can't touch it right now. So I would greatly appreciate, if you could explain to me what you offer to me, and I have some great content, so it would be awesome.
So definitely, but before you answer that from a legal framework.
We want you to give a legal framework answer to that question.
Yeah, but I just have something real quick to say about that. We're making it as easy as possible for audiences around the world to interact with the content, so they won't need to know anything about blockchain technology, cryptocurrency, or anything like that. In China, they'll be using Alipay and WeChat, and the United States, probably credit cards and PayPal and whatever.
Okay, but can you hear me? Yeah, okay. Well, basically, I think your question is really the hands-on question of how does it work at the end of the day. And I think the legal aspect is one side of things, and there's the business aspect. From a legal side, I think your question relates to whether or not you're selling your content and you lose control over your content and just stuck with a distribution portal which may not be successful, thus nobody will watch your content or access your content, and you kind of lose out because this the system doesn't work. And this is not how it works. This is not how SingularDTV works. You're not going to be losing control over your content. You're going to actually gain control over your content back. So you're the one controlling the content on this distribution network, and you're the one profiting from it. And there's also no exclusivity attached to that. You may well use the same content on other distribution channels. This is just one of them, and maybe the future one, but there's room for other channels next to it.
I'd like Matthias to talk a little bit about how a movie producer very soon, or how the entire film industry in Switzerland very soon will be able to go to Crypto Valley Labs in partnership with SingularDTV and a lot of different foundations in Switzerland that will be working towards these blockchain development applications, and how we will sort of work together using our legal experts, groups like Lakeside Partners and Crypto Valley Labs, SingularDTV, MME, Blockhouse, and a lot of other blockchain companies. So Crypto Valley Labs would be a good moment to...
Thank you. No, but this is a crucial question, right? Because user experience right now in the Ethereum blockchain space is crap, right? It's not good. So, but if you think back, you know, probably your first email client wasn't that good either, right? So this is going to change, of course. So what we are doing with CV Labs is to make this whole world tangible, right? To understand what's happening. You need to see people working on the projects, right? You need to go someplace and actually talk to people that are in the blockchain space. And that's why we are launching the Crypto Valley Labs, not only in Zug. We're going to launch this year the first hub. That's a building, basically, with 4 or 5 floors, and you know, companies from the space will be working there. And we're going to replicate that in other cities around the globe. We're going to do Crypto Valley Labs, Berlin Crypto Valley Labs, Hong Kong Crypto Valley Labs, San Francisco. So yeah, we hope to get the ecosystem out there and make it tangible.
And if I can, because I'm a filmmaker, so the reason I'm sitting here is because I've been producing film for 15, 20 years. I've worked for studios, and I've done independent, and after I sold my last film, I was like, this isn't really that fulfilling of a business model. So to answer your question, we have a vice president of content out of Los Angeles who is traveling to all festivals with his team, acquiring content just like you're used to. The only huge difference is you're going to continue to own that content. The only thing that SingularDTV is going to be benefiting from is a small transaction fee. So you will be able to, and we're not exclusive, so if you want to go anywhere else, that's up to you. The difference is you're going to have to go through 2 or 3 gatekeepers, you're going to have to give over your marketing control to those gatekeepers, and you're going to have to wait for months and months and months for your revenue. On this platform, which we are going to be showing test use cases very soon, you'll be able to see how it will work for you. But the big thing that you need to realize as a filmmaker is you will never lose control of your IP, and you will have direct, transparent revenue coming through to your wallets, your smart contract system. You can program it to have a waterfall. You have to pay back this person, you have to pay SAG, you have to pay WGA, you have to pay the DGA. You can keep those all in different accounts, pay them out. That's just one example for distribution, but I think if you give us a couple more months, you'll actually be able to see, like Matthias is saying, an example of how it will work for you.
Okay, very last question then. Is it a quick one?
I would be interested, how do you create, we heard today that we all are going for eyeballs, we want to have eyeballs. So you're explaining that we are really safe on the legal side, but how do you create eyeballs on SingularDTV?
See that man back there? Who's that man? You want to raise your hand? You want to raise your hand, Bill? Well, so we have our CMO, and comes to us from many, many years of great traditional marketing. It'll be much the same as we experience content marketing today. The big difference is the content creators, whether it's a production company or individual filmmaker, will have control over how that gets marketed to their audience, right? So no longer will I have to sit in a meeting with a bunch of white guys, no offense, and they're gonna tell me what they think and who my audience is and how I should sell it and change my poster and change all these things. Not that that won't be available to you if you would like to do that. However, if you feel you would like to go in another direction, the control is completely up to you. There will be traditional marketing companies that we're talking with that you're probably all familiar with that will be offering a menu of items of how to market the same way you're used to seeing right now. The difference is instead of a distributor saying, I'm only going to do it for a week in this market, you can say, you know what, I want to do it another week over here, or my audience wants me to continue in this particular market. It's a lot more control is basically the experience that everyone is going to get, and it will be very similar as to what we're seeing today.
So with that, I think we are going to close the panel. Just a closing word. I mean, the future is, at the end of the day, a story we all collectively write. And I think over here we're seeing some protagonists of that story. I'm very thankful for all of you being here, and I hope that some of the conversations will continue and turn into an even more wonderful story in the years to come, in a future that is more equal, and also where the decentralization empowers us to really take responsibility and ownership of what we create. So with that, thank you so much, and have a good evening.